we're going to have a conversation with a multi-millionaire who plans to give all, not some, not most, all of his money away. The one and only that ADU guy, Derek. How you doing, buddy?
Better than I deserve. Thanks for having me, Zuber.
So I got to be honest. I knew you were a special person when we first bumped into each other 3 or 4 years ago because you had this dream to influence the creation of 1 million housing units. I knew you were special when you said, I don't need 1,000 units. I want to help 1,000 people get 1 unit. But then at the Vegas event, you and I had a side conversation where you basically dropped another bomb that you're going to give it all away. Dude, you worked all this time and you're just going to give it all away? What the heck are you thinking?
I've been asked that by more than one person, and I'll tell you what I'm thinking is, there's nothing in my mind that I could do to ruin like my kids more than give them everything I've worked for. Everybody talks about building generational wealth and setting their kids up for success and being the generation that changes the family lineage. And in my experience and based on my thought process, I think that's probably the worst thing I could do.
Okay.
And there's so many more people that can use what we've built than I think the people that are close to me that I've hopefully taught the skills to go build it for themselves.
That's amazing. And I agree with you. We've all seen the stories of kids or even grandkids, if the pile is big enough, just ruined by being given a pile of money. So that's it just hit me when you said that, right? I think a lot of folks that are in our position are like, I'll give half away. But what you're really focused on and what I hear you talking about is your job as a parent, as a dad, was to train them not only to be good human beings, but to build their own wealth. That's what I hear you saying. And that's what you're focused on.
Yeah, that's the truth. I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. Really, what I want them to learn too is to build a life that brings you joy. And so many people in our society today think that building a life that is full of joy is full of money, and it's
Right.
really not the same thing. And it wasn't until I got to a comfortable financial position that I fully realized that truth. And so that's what I'm really trying to teach the kids. It's not how to build businesses and how to get rich and how to make your money work for more money. It's do something that really brings you joy, that impacts others, and the money will come. I mean, everybody in our business talks about, oh, add value, and you'll never have to worry about income. And really what they're saying is like, I have to sell a product or a service that will benefit somebody, and therefore I will get paid. And my
Mm.
mindset is just like, do what brings you joy, and you won't have to worry about the money as much.
Yeah, I love that. And I couldn't agree more. Right. I think and some of us are wired to chase money. I will freely admit that since I was 7 or 8 years old, money was my thing. But when I look at my daughter, Teresa, when I kind of really step back and stop trying to impose my personal framework on her, she's extremely happy. I would argue that Teresa at 32 is happier than I was at 32 because we stepped back and said, "Hey, what is she what does she like to do? What does she have fun at?" Sure, she maybe doesn't W2 or whatever as much as I did, but I think she's happier. She's paying her bills, she's contributing. She's a good person. I'm like, job well done.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if it was on purpose, but you told a kind of a third person story on the stage in Vegas about pushing a daughter and somebody yelling at you and saying, God damn it, leave her alone, let her be an artist. And I'm like, that's Michael and Olivia and their daughter. So you
Yeah,
didn't really come out and say it, but I was like, oh, okay,
I know who that is.
that's a third person story of himself.
Exactly, exactly. I didn't know I had permission from the wife to tell that story, so I just generalized it
Well, for
a
what it's
little bit.
worth, she was up on the upper floor smiling. So
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Well, I want to talk about a second thing that you've brought and get there, but we're going to really talk about the 1,000 units or 1,000 people, 1 unit for the most of this, I think, because I think that's the most important because I think we both suffer frustrations around that, but we'll get to that in a minute. I want to get to what you and I talked about when we first spoke. I will admit, I didn't know who you were. We met, I think we met virtually the first time and then met in person. And you said, I want to help create 1 million housing units. And my first mind was, who is this fool that thinks they're going to, like, if you would have told me 100, 1,000, maybe even 10,000, I'd have been like, I could see that. But you said 1,000,000. Now knowing you for 4 or 5 years, I think you're going to do it. And it's because you're doing it the right way. You just give, give, give. You continue to give. You continue to update this. You have an amazing YouTube channel that is full of giving and all of that. Um, I got to tell you, dude, I was wrong. My first impression of the million goal was just flat out wrong. I love the fact that you think big and execute bigger. So kudos to you.
Oh, yeah, thank you. And I will admit that that is a huge goal, but something you left off that I did say when we met is I also plan to live a very long time.
Fair.
And, you know, if I have maybe 5 decades left on the trajectory that I'm on, like I think that's a completely achievable goal.
Oh, I
And the way
agree.
that information moves and the way that legislation is moving, and not that I have this scientific way of tracking this data, but I know a couple of guys in California alone that heard one thing that I said that had to do with converting space inside of a primary house right before California allowed the second ADU. And they started a fund and they have plans to build 6,000 units in their city alone in the next 10 years. So getting stories like that in little bits and pieces, not saying that it's that goal is going to be hit, but I do know that it's possible. And the one thing I've learned over the years is just do not ever sell ourselves short. I've seen
Yeah.
so many really successful people, not that they dream too small, that they didn't give themselves enough credit. And they make this goal that's so achievable that, you know, they have a 10-year goal that they hit in a year, and then they feel like, oh my gosh, what's next? And I
Yeah.
didn't ever want to run out of runway. Okay. I don't ever want to get to a spot and be like, oh man, I'm out of fuel because I didn't have a ending point that was far enough down the road, per se.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, now
So
let's
I
get
want
on
to
to,
see, Zuber, I want to see the swing and the miss shirt next time you tell me you're wrong. Okay.
okay. You got, actually, I have it in the other room. I will definitely, you know what? Next time we speak together, I'll wear it underneath and I'll make a big flash because I was wrong. I have no problem admitting I'm wrong, dude. I'm wrong all the time.
No, I
Um,
love that about you. That's one of the reasons I love you, man, is you're not afraid to go all in, and you're also not afraid to say, you know what, I didn't call that one quite right.
yeah,
So that
I
means a
was
lot.
wrong there.
That means a lot coming from you, Zuber.
Yeah. No, it's all there. Um, but now let's switch gears to something that I think is more important because the million goal is fun. You're going to be working on it for 50 years. I now see how it'll be kind of exponential with how this goes as legislation moves your direction, as more and more people see this as a solution. I agree with you. I don't think you're going to need all 50 years. So again, I think you're going to get there. But now let's go to the current thorn in our sides, right? We both operate in a world where we are both giving daily or giving information away that is meaningful, frankly,
Mhm,
for free here on YouTube.
mhm,
And I think we're still seeing that same old problem of people not taking action, not wanting it. You talked about, I don't need 1,000 units. I want to help 1,000 people get 1 unit. So let's spend some time thinking about that because that should be very doable. But for some reason, it doesn't. The momentum doesn't start. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Zuber. The momentum is so key, and we hear a lot of talk today about like proof of concept.
Mhm.
And you talk about in your course and in your story about, you know, 4 rental units changing your life, and I
Yeah.
couldn't agree more. But I would add to that that the most important of that 4 is the first.
Oh,
The
no doubt.
first unit, and I'm speaking from personal experience. I know when I got my very first rental unit and that very first check came in, this is back in the day when you would get a check. You know, we didn't, not everybody did
Yeah, we're
direct
that
deposit.
old.
Yeah, it's like, oh my goodness. It was tangible. I could hold it, I could see it, I could feel it. And the first thought I had was, how do I do this again?
Mm,
And my fear is that people, like, life is hard. I mean, to get the kids to school, to be able to afford groceries, to make it to work on time, to not step on anybody's toes. There's all these little sub issues going on in everybody's life every day that it's hard to make time to grow. But if you can grow and you can get 1 unit, whether it's buying a property out of state or using my strategy, which is trying to house hack and build an ADU. If you get the one unit and you get that one check and you get that one little piece of proof of concept, the rest is going to be easy. It's just taking the action to get that first step. And with all the information out there today, it's the blueprint, not plans, blueprints, but the blueprint to wealth or to rental units or even buying stocks for that matter,
Yeah.
all out there. And people, I think, just have so much fear to take action. And so I think our jobs as maybe like quote unquote influencers today is to try to influence people that fear is not going to kill you.
Mm.
It's you know, a fact that you're feeling, but your feelings are not facts. Those fears
Yeah.
are not going to come true. And the
Yeah.
sooner we can share that with experience, with mentorship, with walking people through the process, I think the sooner people will take action. We just have to erase that fear or normalize it, Zuber. That's my view.
Yeah. I think like I used to frequent CrossFit gyms, and one of the favorite shirts that we would often wear is because CrossFit workouts can be crazy hard and difficult, right? Um, and the shirt said something like, I think it just said, "But did you die?" Right? And that's really like, yeah, you can talk all this fear, you can psych yourself out, but usually when you go through it, you grow. Growth comes from being a little bit uncomfortable, right? When the body is repairing itself, it can be painful, but that is growth, right? Especially when you're talking about muscle. But the same thing happens in your mindset. There's so many people. I don't know what it is. Let's talk about this. So when we break people down, I think there's a set of folks that think, I don't know if it's they're not worthy or they can't do it or their circumstance makes them uneligible. I think there's a set of those. Hopefully it's small, but there's a set. There's a set of folks that have baggage or history or experience or frankly a friend circle that makes it really hard to move forward, right? They're like an anchor that won't let them grow. There's a set of folks there's another set of folks that, damn, they just keep chasing butterflies or squirrels or shiny objects. And they never get going. And, you know, a lot of it's up here, I think.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. You know, everybody talks about the most important piece of real estate being location, 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 and it's that few inches between your ears that's like the most
Mhm.
valuable lot in our business. And I can tell you firsthand, I fell into the first two camps you just spoke of. You know, I grew up poor. I grew up, nobody in my family knew about real estate. We didn't talk about money because there
Mm.
wasn't any. It was just guilt and shame.
Yeah,
I
guilt and shame.
still,
Yeah.
I still
Stress.
they have self-limiting beliefs. I signed for probably the biggest deal we've ever done this last week, and I had a pit in my stomach every
Mm.
time I'm in the title company, and I've closed on a lot of property. Every time, I still feel like I'm not smart enough. I missed something. I'm going to lose money. I paid too much. Like
Mm.
something is going to go wrong every time, guys. I feel that still, but the difference is I still do it. It doesn't have to feel comfortable. The second thing you touched on is the circle. You know, everybody talks about you're an average of the five people you hang out with. I mean, Warren Buffett, I think, said that first. He's one of the first people I heard mention that. And
Me
it's
too.
so true. If you're hanging out with a bunch of people that say you can't, you're not going to. It doesn't mean you have to get rid of all your friends. It means that you also need to get in rooms where people are going to coach you and cheer you on and help you push through those self-limiting beliefs. And then the third thing you mentioned was the shiny object syndrome. And that's
Mm.
the one of the three that I've been able to wade through. I don't focus on the noise. And this is the biggest piece of advice I could probably give somebody. And if you're here this morning listening, I'm sorry if it's unsolicited advice, but I really want you to win. And that's why I'm going to share this is it doesn't matter what your strategy is. I don't care if you want to build ADUs or apartment complexes or manufactured home parks or buy boring businesses. I don't care. Just focus on one thing and get really good at it. People wonder why I've had a little bit of success, and it's because I've been doing it for 30 years.
Mm.
Nobody cared what I did for 25 years. I've been saying the same thing over and over for almost 3 decades, and nobody gave a shit. It's just
Yeah.
started to get popular, and people think that like, oh man, this you just got lucky, or
Yeah.
you're in a state where this is allowed. And there's a lot of luck as well. Like I'll admit that I was in the right place at the right time,
Yeah.
but it's because I focused on one thing, and when it got boring 20 years ago, I just doubled down. And
Yeah.
today we judge our insides on everybody else's outsides. And we see all these people on every screen that we look at, whether it's this one, whether it's this one, whether it's what we hear at the
Yeah.
gym or over dinner. And we think that people are getting rich fast and we're missing out. And that's not true. Pick a strategy, even if it's not a great one, even if you don't have a great market, it doesn't matter. If you focus on one thing and you don't give up and you don't die, I promise you'll be successful.
Yeah. But did you die? The answer is no, right? And so you learn something, you move forward. So I want to talk about those three again because I want people to feel this, right? So the first one was kind of that limiting belief or baggage or history. And both you and I came from very little. And frankly, if you just look at our resume, our life resume up till some point, if we did what the average person did, we wouldn't be here, right? I have no idea. I'd have a minimum wage job somewhere. And it was because, frankly, I didn't want that. I wanted for me and my family to have more than my family had growing up. I didn't know what more was, but more than zero's pretty easy. But I wanted some significantly more than that. Folks, you can do this. I believe in you. Thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people have proven it's possible, but you've got to own your shit. You've got to own it. And yes, that probably means, you work a 9 to 5 and then you do something from 5 to 9. Who cares? How bad do you want it? What do you think of that first one?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. You must have like a YouTube channel or something. That's a fact. I think you couldn't have said it any better. The self-limiting belief that we all have is something that you just have to punch through. And I'd share this. I go to a lot of events. I travel around the country and talk to a lot of different people. And I usually show up to learn. I mean, sometimes I happen to be talking, but usually I'm there to learn. Even when I'm speaking, I'm actually there to learn. And what I've found recently as I do these non-scientific case studies that I call them, meeting more and more people, and I'll tell you what, the people that I see that are the most successful have two things in common. A lot of them are self-made, and a lot of them are immigrants.
Mm-hmm.
So when I break down the pieces of what makes somebody in our business really successful, it's all the same stuff that everybody struggles with, only more. Like, not only did they come from nothing and are poor, and we're poor, and we're the first person in their kind of family to really go big. A lot of them started with nothing in a country outside of ours where there was way less opportunity. Every time I meet somebody that's crushing it, I ask them where they're from and can you tell me how you got started? And I would
Mm-hmm.
say 90% of them are self-made and have a really tough story that's inspiring. So if you think you're chronically unique because you had a tough upbringing or nobody in your family taught you about money or you didn't know how leverage worked, like, sorry, like that is your advantage. Like what
Yeah.
people think is their limiting factor is really their superpower. And I wish I would have known that. And it's not an easy thing to grasp. I've been doing this a long time, and this is stuff I'm learning today. Like, this is new to me. This is like as of 2023,
Mm.
last year, that this is sunk in. So I don't expect everybody to get it instantly, but I promise, if you can just take your limits that you feel are holding you back and flip those around and turn those into your strengths, you're going to have a competitive advantage that all the other people that grew up understanding finance and having a little bit easier life, they don't have.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I would Gary Vee talks about this a lot, like taking some poor kid with grit and stacking him up against a rich kid, and the poor kid's just going to mow him over.
Every
And
time.
this is
Every
a
time.
competitive business, and take your self-limiting beliefs, all your woes and boohoos, and turn those into your energy.
Yeah, I mean, I love images or pictures, and all I can think about when you're telling that story is you, the individual, you have a choice. You could take your baggage and your crap and put it as a big boulder in your backpack and walk around with it, or you can choose to use it as your fuel that keeps you going longer than everybody else. It is 100% your choice. Is it a boulder in your backpack you carry, or is it fuel that keeps you going? How's that feel?
Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect. And I want to mention that there are exceptions to this rule. I had a similar conversation at your event with Coach Carson, and Chad and I were talking, and I was able to tell him my full story over your awesome podcast room. Thank you for running that, by the way. And he had a really good conversation piece on that. He said, "You know what? I've got a really good story that's very similar, but on the opposite side. I went to school. I played Division I football. He played at Clemson. Right when he got to camp, his coach said, "Hey, I know you're a rich kid. I know you're a pretty boy." You know, Chad's dad was a dentist. He grew up upper middle class. And the coach told him, he said, "I'm going to ride you harder than everybody else because I think you're soft." And Chad told me the story about how he had to get mean. He had to work harder, show up earlier, stay later. Every new hotshot running back that came in, he would have to crush them. He was a linebacker. And he had to work so much harder because he fell under the stereotype that you're a rich kid and it's easier. So not everybody that grows up with a little bit easier life is going to be soft. And he was a good example. So I just figured I'd shout that out. It
Oh,
was a good story.
again, it's a to me, when you become an adult, you all have baggage and history of your youth. I really do think, do you use it as a weight or is it fuel? Yes, I have met plenty of Coach Carsons in my day. Most use it as a crutch, right? Call daddy and mommy when things get tough. There are the animals like Coach Carson that's like, all right, you freaking coach, I'll show you.
Mhm.
That's that's unique, and that's why coach is so successful. So, but I think for most people choose to have a boulder in their backpack. Folks, drop it, leave it on the ground, use it as fuel, burn it. So that's number one. Let's go to number two. This is a big one for me. Your friend circle. Your friend circle. Folks, I've said this before. I hope it hurts. It's meant to be a little obnoxious, but you need to fire your friends. You just do. You're in a circle of friends today in a spot that you are not happy with. Your friends suck. Your friends are not pushing you. They're not encouraging you. In fact, they're probably holding you back either on purpose or by happenstance. You need to get in new rooms. One of the things I loved about the event that you and I were part of last weekend was everybody was networking. That room, you and I have been to lots of conferences. Most conferences are full of pretenders and people who are hoping to catch lightning in a bottle. That room was full of doers. Now, these could be doers that don't have any rentals. They're doing it. They have a buy box. They're growing their network. They're reaching out. They're looking at new markets. Everybody in that room was a doer. New relationships and friendships were created. Folks, you need to get in new rooms. You need to fire your friends. What do you think?
I think you're absolutely right. A couple things I'll add to that. Basically, your event was such an amazing group of people. It's such a good community that you've built because you built it on the proper principles. You've built it on get rich slow. That's why
Mm,
people there are real, is because nobody's there trying to catch a free ride, like period. And I hear a lot of talk about the circles we're in, and a lot of events open up with look around the room, and somebody in that room is going to change your life, and you're just one relationship away from a whole different life. And most closed-minded small thinkers look around the room and they think, who in this room is that person? Who's the private
mm,
money lender? Who's going to give me a bag of gold? Who's going to like bring me into their partnership and let me run their show? And in rooms like yours, it's the opposite. We look around the room at your event and we think, who can I help?
right.
Everybody has this team mentality of like, who can I help? Not who is here to help me. And I think that's what makes it special. As far as firing your friends, yeah, like if your friends are not doing what you want to do and they don't have what you want to have, you have to get into different circles. And
Mm,
something I learned, again, I hate to admit this, but it took me way, way longer than it should have because I like grew up so frugal and I always thought that I needed to like save every dollar to put into the next deal. And really, I couldn't have been more wrong. You have to spend some money to get into some of these rooms. Even if it's a $300 ticket to go to Vegas and spend 2 days with a bunch of awesome people. I mean, that is such a small, affordable barrier to entry, or to join a mastermind. We're paying for relationships. Okay, you're not paying to play. You're paying to show that you're committed to changing
mhm,
your circle. And once you pay to go to an event or you pay to be in some kind of boot camp or mastermind, and mind this, folks, like I don't sell anything. This is not like a
mm-mm.
soft runway to be like, oh yeah, run to the back of the room and buy my
No,
back stuff. I
I've never
just
seen Derek sell a thing. He gives everything away.
no, yeah, I just noticed that more I start to pay to go places, or that I pay to go to events or be in organizations or professional groups, um, after you pay once or twice, like you have that friend group forever. So when
Yes.
people say, well, I don't know, like all my friends I just go to the bar with on Friday and I grew up with them, like how do I meet new friends? Pay to go to an event or pay to be in a mastermind. If you have a niche, if it's self-storage, if it's you want to start a business selling carpet door to door. It doesn't matter. There's an expert somewhere in your region. Find out where they hang out. If you have to pay to go be with them, do that. And once you get into that circle and you're not a complete goober, like you're going to
Hmm.
have friends for life. So it's easier to get into new circles than most people think. And if
Oh
somebody would
yeah.
have just told me like 10 years ago, just pay to go hang out with other successful people, I probably would have said no. And that would have been the biggest mistake that I
Yeah.
could have made. So just
Yeah.
save
You,
yourself
you,
10 years.
yeah, save yourself 10. I agree with you. I've been very clear, right? I tried to do everything myself, and it wasn't until I opened myself up to the bigger community that things really took off. Right? You can do it the hard way. It's just slower, more painful, and the upside isn't as great. You open yourself up to new friend groups and new groups that are already
Yeah.
there. And um I don't read the Bible. Ryan Pineda does. So I was on an interview with Ryan Pineda. So I'm going to mess this up, but I want to give credit where I heard it. Apparently, in the Bible, there's this story of three different levels, and I just think it plays in life. Right? There's somebody at the top mentoring you. There's somebody at your level, and then there's somebody below that you need to pull up. That's exactly that's exactly what I saw in that room we were a part of. Right? There were some people in the room that had a fair amount that were helping people see the bigger picture, the speakers. Then there were 300 people at the same level helping each other. And then there were people, hey, I don't have anything yet. I'm just getting started. And we were all pulling them up. That kind of, that's what life's about. No matter where you are in that, if you reorient your vision, you can be at any level. You and I, who have more than most, if we got in the right rooms, we would be the small person, right? It's just where we want to go in this story.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. And one thing I'll add to this, and if people hear just one thing today from this talk, maybe listen to this. It's everybody wants to help you. I've been around a lot of low level people. I've been around a fair amount of mid level people and a few high level people. And in our business, the one common denominator is they all want to help. You would never be in like SaaS or what like software sales and go into another company and they would tell you all their secrets. Like
No,
intellectual property is guarded with like lock and key. In our business, the most successful people will tell you exactly how they got to be successful and help you do it. No other business organization or no other group of people have I ever seen so freely give away all their strategies. So it's not only getting in the rooms and getting around bigger people and growing by osmosis, it's ask questions. Like you have to take action. A lot of people think they'll just, if they show up, they're going to absorb all this information and be successful. And I always want to remind people that even when you go to these events or you pay to be in these rooms, you still have to take action. You still have to stick your hand out and meet people. You still have to go get uncomfortable around a group you've never met and introduce yourself as the small person or the unknown person or the big person, whatever it is. You have to participate in your own progression through this business. But I mean, open your mind, open your eyes, open your heart, because nobody is going to want to help you more than people in our community. And I think that's unique to real estate. I
I
really
agree with you.
like try going into Apple and asking them what their next product is and if they'll help you design it. Like you would be arrested.
Yeah, no, I actually have some very good friends that work at Apple, and they're not allowed to talk about anything. So
Yeah.
that's not a conversation to have.
Yeah.
But staying on this friends concept, I think in today's era, we actually have something else that we need to guard. And frankly, I think it's worse and or more important than your five friends, right? Warren Buffett said you're the sum of your five friends. But I think there's this device and the apps that we have on it, social media, that if we don't understand that 10, 20, 60 minutes, however much you're spending on it, is impacting you in bigger ways, you're not paying attention. If you allow social media to scare you, make you jealous, envious, any negative feeling, that's on you. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's perfect. One thing you did, I remember you started this, you went on a tirade about a year ago and you started calling out doomers and everybody was just spreading fear in them. Not everybody, but there were certain groups that were spreading fear in the market. And you were like, how the hell do they have so many followers? Why do so many people listen to these idiots? And it was personal to you because you knew it was wrong. And I
Mm-hmm.
love the stand you took. And you actually went public and said, hey guys, go through your watch list and get rid of this toxic stuff that you're watching. Get rid of the Crash Bros. And I could not agree more. Whether we like it or not, we have mentors on here.
Yes,
They're everywhere.
exactly.
They're either positive mentors or they're negative. Get rid of the bullshit and focus on the positive. I'll say, you know, on the other side of that, turning that boulder into the fuel. What I do, you know, if I see anybody on my feed that is not putting a positive message into my soul, like they are not followed anymore. And
Oh,
if
I
there's
know
people
exactly.
that have a good message, you know, I follow them. But I'm pretty passive. And then if I see people that are like pumping into my soul what I need to hear, I like and comment. And what the algorithm does, it's so much smarter than us. It just starts to feed you what you want. So if you audit, you know, audit your friend group is a phrase I got from you. If you audit your friend group, get rid of all the BS. But if you focus on and comment on and like the stuff that's important, before you know it, you know, like right now on my phone, when I open up my feed on any platform, there's about 10 people that I know, like, and trust, that I respect. And that's who is pumping information into this real estate. And it's powerful. Like I have a couple of
Yeah.
mentors that don't know that they're my mentors. I'll give one a quick shout out because I really like
Sure.
his message, and that's Thatch. You know, I've hung out with
Thatch no
Thatch,
win. Go
talk
Thatch.
here and there. He's an amazing guy that I really believe in his message, and everything he does, like I'm watching, because he's done such a good job of bringing people together. He's diverse. He has women. He's got people of color. His interview style is just off the charts. So some of the things I'm trying to do today, I'm just modeling what he's doing because I know he has a good heart and what he's doing
Mm.
is working. So, you know, and I've actually told him that I'm like, Thatch, whether you like it or not, like you're my mentor right now. And there's a bunch of these people. I mean, you're another one. Like, what's Zuber doing? How does he present himself? What kind of questions is he asking? So if you follow good people that are in line with your core values, they can mentor you. So it's not just don't let all the BS distract you. It's like lock into some people that you want to be like and follow them. You don't have to pay for that. They don't even have to know you're doing it. Just pick good friends, period.
Yeah. So I work in technology, right? I'm in the Valley. I've been in it for 20 years. I sold AI software for the last 5 or 6 years. So this is near and dear to my heart. A lot of people want to blame the algorithm for what's in their feed. The algorithm is just giving you what you asked for. And let me just give a personal example from last night. This happened last night. So there's this stupid doomer on Twitter who's talking crap, which I blocked a long time ago. But one of my followers decided to engage, which means it showed up in my feed. And the doomer's comments are hidden, but the person I follow is not. And I'm telling this follower of mine, I say, dude, you got to stop engaging with these people. And it went on for 5 or 6 engagements. I'm like, dude, them is going to feed you more of this crap if you engage with these morons. Stop it right now. They didn't. So I blocked somebody I was following because I don't need that crap in my feed. If you engage with it, like if you call out a doomer and you say their crap isn't worthwhile or they've been wrong for 3 years, you're going to get more doomers because the app is intended to create engagement. Stop and don't only block doomers, don't engage. It is remarkable that people don't get that.
Yeah, that's what they're going for. They want a reaction and they want a response. And if you can silence yourself and move on, you're going to eventually, you know, kill their model.
Let them live in the dark. Who cares? They're broke renters in mom's basement. Who cares?
Yeah.
Leave them alone. So, friends,
Amen.
social media, all of that. Let's get on to the last one that I took from our conversation. And that is the notion of overnight success, right? You in the ADU space, you've had some good wind at your back, right? Some legislation's come down. It is growing. So shout out to you. But I loved what you said. You've been doing the same thing for 30 years. And now you're getting the recognition that you absolutely deserve and more. But it's funny how many people say things like, "Oh, overnight success," or "You got lucky." Do that "you got lucky" one actually is like a big red button for me. You want to piss me off in a minute? Tell me I got lucky.
Oh, that's great. I have to disagree with you here.
Awesome.
And it's only because like I do I think luck has a definition, and it's like, you know, it's where hard work and opportunity kind of collide. You know, there's all these different sayings, but the fact that, and this isn't new to me. This is another thing. I've studied Warren Buffett for almost 30 years, and a lot of his story is relatable to kind of how I think. And he
Mhm.
talks a lot about just like gratitude, about being born a male. in
Yep.
the United States and having the opportunity that we have. And even some of the uphill stuff that I was up against with how I was raised and some of the opportunities I didn't have, I still had luck. I was still this white male in America. I was born into a state in the early 90s. We had this accessory dwelling unit code that legally allowed this unit. So I really had a 25-year head start just by chance.
Mhm.
So there was some luck. So it doesn't really irk me when people say you got lucky. I usually turn that around and say I did. Like, and this is how I create my luck, and this is how I want to help you get lucky too. Because
Yeah,
at the end of the day, we have so many like we're so close-minded because we have it so good here that if people were, and I'm not some world traveled person, but
mm,
I do keep my eyes open and I pay attention and I know how good we have it. So
sure.
when I'm called out with that, I just try to pass it on. Like, let me help you get lucky too.
Maybe that's an opportunity for me to grow because me just saying it out loud still pisses me off. Because again, I actually think getting wealthy, getting to a point again where a multimillionaire can give all his money away, how we started, the path is really straightforward. But unfortunately, step three is time.
Hmm.
Nothing worth doing happens quickly, right? The wealth journey I talk about, step three, is it takes 10 years. You got to continually do step one and two for 10 years. So I don't think that's luck. I really don't. Yes, being a white male born in, absolutely, there are things that made it easier, no doubt. But I don't think wealth, um, I think the formula is the same for everyone. Now, the upside may be different, that you may be starting from different points, absolutely. But I I I just don't see, and maybe I'm blind, maybe it's a self-bias. The 10-year part is the most important part of it. Lots of people get started, lots of people give up. Lots of people, take right turns. But yeah, maybe there's an opportunity for me to grow because again, even though what I had was not a great start, it was better than a lot. So maybe there's some self-reflection there.
Yeah, and you don't need to beat yourself up on this one, Zuber. Of course, there's way more factors outside of luck. I just
Mm,
think it's one little piece of the puzzle.
mhm,
And I was having a conversation at a kind of a little mini real estate event last night with a friend of mine, and I was telling her that the long distance approach to this to get rich slow. And I hear this from people all the time, like, oh, if I just had this, and it's the arrival fallacy. If I just had 100 units, then if I
mm.
just got my first unit, I would like have wind at my back and I could proceed. And I don't think that that's true. I think that if we have a long-term time horizon and we do what all successful people that I've ever met do, which is we delay gratification. Okay, right? We can have it now or we can have it forever. And for this example, she was talking about wanting to have $4,000 of passive income, and it's like, hey, that's not going to happen tomorrow. But if you set a goal to have that in say 5 or 10 years, that's so achievable. You'd be selling
Oh,
yourself so
absolutely.
short as long as you don't give up. But what I see happen is people don't get rewarded quick enough, and then they take that right turn that you're talking about, or they give
Yeah.
up and they go do something else, or they go into trend marketing, or they want to sell you Tupperware. Like, it's not going to happen fast. If people could just understand, your rule of the 10 years, everybody is 10 years away from retirement.
Yeah,
Everybody that has
totally agree.
access to information is no more than 10 years away from success and retirement if you have the discipline. And that's the hard part. We
Yeah.
all want it now. Like me too. Like, I'm not
Yeah. Yeah.
exempt. Like, I want it now too. I'm impatient. But I understand the principles of delayed gratification.
All right, now let's talk about the big goal of getting 1,000 people to get one. All right, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
I think there's so many ways for folks to get started, but again, I love when we talk about what is the easiest way to do it. And if I remember our conversation correctly, always correct me if I'm wrong or you disagree. It's to buy a 4.2 or 4.2.5 that is set up or configured in a right way where the master bedroom or the master bedroom suite can be carved up and used as a unit. Is that still the easiest way to get started?
It's the easiest and most affordable way, in my opinion, if you're in an area that allows either attached accessory dwelling units or duplex conversions. Yes, every time, all day long, you cannot go wrong. I mean, everybody wants small multifamily. Why don't you just make it? And it can even be a 3-2 that you're going to convert into a 2-1 and a 1-1. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be that bigger house and the bigger price point, but house hacking is the cheat code to wealth. And if you get that second unit with a soundproof side-by-side shared wall, preferably not over under, but a side-by-side shared wall, that's the product that all new investors are looking for. You're just creating it. You don't have to go compete with everybody looking for a shared wall duplex on the best side of town if you can buy a single family house and turn the master bedroom into its own unit.
So
I
let's talk about
bring
what that
this.
looks like. Let's talk about, so again,
Yeah.
you're going to new house developments, or you're going to look at houses built 10 or 12 years ago. The things to look for would be kind of the master bedroom on one side, ideally where you can create an access point. Maybe it already has access to the backyard.
Mhm.
That's important. Its own bathroom already there, probably
Mhm.
important. Um, you're probably, to your point, going to have to add soundproofing, but a lot of people hear soundproofing and think, 10, 20, 30 grand. You can break that down because I've seen you do it in videos. It's not that much stuff. Um, what other things would make a floor plan kind of just fit this either 3-2 or 4-2?
Yeah, great question. So the other two things that I always look for that you didn't mention, thanks for watching my stuff, because like all the tricks. Like he just said the blueprint right there, folks.
Mm,
The other two things I would add is parking. We want to make sure that the
parking,
area
yes.
has parking, because although due to a lot of state legislation, we don't need additional off-street parking spots for some of these strategies, we still need a spot for our tenants to park. So I'm always looking for parking, and I always want to do this in a good location. Okay, it's real estate is getting harder and harder to make sense every day. But if we always buy in the best area we possibly can and we have parking, then yes, on the actual floor plan, we're looking for a master bedroom or any space that has a bathroom. If it's any sort of structure that has a bathroom, that's where I'm looking. I don't have them with me. Normally I'd put my ADU goggles on right now and say, hey, have a new vision of looking at properties. Where's the bathroom and does it share a wall with any other bedroom? Because if the master that you're going to convert shares a wall with a laundry room or with a kitchen or with an entry, that's going to be a lot better layout when it comes to privacy. If you look at really well designed side by side duplexes or side by side multifamily, they design them with sound design in mind. So they put closets back to back, or they may
Mm,
put utility rooms back to back. You would never put a bedroom back to back, even in a normal single family house, if you could help it. You don't want to hear the kids don't want to hear the adults, like basic principles. So I'm looking at floor plans where that area of the house that has the bathroom doesn't share another wall. Soundproofing is super easy. We use 2 layers of type X 5/8 drywall. We use soundproof, a product called green glue, which is a proprietary compound. I mean, it literally costs us $1,000 to soundproof a wall. And then the other big one that people are getting kind of upset with right now, especially in California, is they're making you fireproof
mm,
from floor to ceiling. And it's kind of a pain in the butt if you have a crawl space foundation to go underneath and build a small pony wall and put up some glass to fire proof that separation between buildings. Also up in the attic, you may have to put 5/8 drywall, but we're talking a few $1,000s to literally save 6 figures between the difference of a conversion and a duplex. So when I hear people say, "Oh, that's a good strategy, but oh, I could do
mm,
that, but," it's like you just don't want it bad enough. If you want to get your first unit, you're going to have to get a little bit creative, especially in this market. Like nobody is going to hand you a gold bar. They're just
yeah.
not. Like those days are over, and they may come back. But today, to get your first unit, those are the things that I would look for in a single family house. And you can also convince your significant other to house hack if you don't have roommates. It's basically like the roommate on steroids because they have their own
Hmm.
entrance. They've got this legally separated unit. Another thing that I always remind people is pull the proper permits to do this. Cities want to
Yeah.
help you now. It's not the old days where it's like, oh shit, don't call the city. Like they're going to raise our taxes and they're going to fine us. They want to help you. So just call your cities, call your planning and zoning offices and ask them for the standards you have to meet to do this. And then start looking for that type of product and that type of market.
Yeah. So again, folks, if we're going to try to help 1,000 people get their first unit, this is a great way to get started. Either, like you say, house hacking, or perhaps buy a single family and make a duplex and go from 1 to 2, especially in a market with high prices and high rates. You got to, I love your ADU goggles, right? You just got to look at the property different. You don't look at it as a standard house. You look at it as, hey, what's the potential of this being 2 rent checks,
Yeah. Yes.
not one?
And the house hack is A house hack to me is it's your primary mortgage and you're getting income from it. So you're house hacking
Exactly.
without a roommate. You're house hacking only you just created a duplex. So that's kind of what I would tell people. And the one catch I get often, I talk to thousands of people about this strategy. And the one thing that I've boiled down that hangs the most people up is they can't see themselves in that configuration forever.
Mm,
And this couldn't be more important to talk about right now if people are still hanging on. I know we're late in the video. We should have started with this, but
mm,
it's not your forever home. You do
exactly.
not have to envision yourself there forever. The power of the house hacking strategy is you're going to buy a property, you're going to add value to it, you're going to move into it within 60 days, and you're going to live in it for at least a year, and then you're going to go try to repeat the strategy again, buying another primary mortgage with really low down and taking owner occupant financing and putting the last one into service as a rental. So do not get stuck with, oh, well, where will our kids play in 10 years when we have kids? You're going to be out of here next year if you're doing this right. If you want to get to 4 and you've got a 10-year time horizon to build wealth and get off the rat race, do not think of it as your forever home. And it's so hard to get that into people's mind.
No, I couldn't agree more. I just interviewed PTO for Life, who's done 7 house hacks, now financially free, quit their jobs. I don't know about you, but moving 7 times in 7 years to be retired before you're 40 sounds like a good idea to me. So,
Sounds amazing. And people usually don't believe this when I say it, but I still house hack. I'm house hacking today. I just moved into a 524 square foot ADU that I just built. I still do it. I practice what I preach. I don't have to. I could probably live wherever I want. I still do it because it makes sense. It works. And when I tell people to do it, I don't want them to think I'm full of shit. I want them to
mm,
know that I'm doing it. Like, do the work. I don't have your hat. You need to send me one. If I had
done.
your hat that you're wearing right now, it would be on my head. Do the work.
All right, send me your address offline. I will get you a hat. I'll get you several hats so you can give them away to people as well. This is such amazing. What other kind of floor plans could people look at? These ADU goggles. Let's give them one more that they should be thinking about.
Yeah, for sure. This is one that I don't love because over time I've learned with management that over unders just create a few more problems. But for affordability and for new buyers in areas that have houses with basements, if you can buy a property that has an unfinished basement, it's really affordable to add value and double your square footage in a lot of cases. So I tell people that are on a budget in an area that has a lot of basements to look for a property that has an unfinished basement. A lot of unfinished basements have like laundry and a bathroom in the basement. And all you have to do is go in there and finish the basement off, maybe make the window well a little bit bigger so you can meet egress. A couple things
Mhm.
that hang up basements or egress windows. We need 5.7 square feet, no higher than 44 inches off the ground. And then we need a minimum of 7 feet of clearance. You can drop down to like 6'8" for HVAC or for supporting beam members. But if you have plenty of clearance, and you have good egress, a basement conversion is almost as affordable as you can get outside of chopping up the master bedroom.
I love that. I love that. And again, let's close on this. We talked about Thatch. I think one of the things that Thatch is really pushing us to think about is how to maximize the ADU legislation, right? He's talking about houses. He's talking about, I don't know, dadus, and then he's talking about ADU in the back. Let's paint the vision of what it could be for the states that have legislation that way. You could take a house and essentially create a triplex in some areas. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing in Oregon. That's what we're doing in California. That's what we're doing in Washington. Now Montana. Those are the 4 big states with amazing overarching state legislation. I can't believe more people in California. There's billionaires in California that don't know it yet with this strategy. And I'll tell you what, like Thatch is doing, and what the higher, longer term thinking developers are doing is kind of the opposite of me. So I buy these. I keep them on the same tax lot so I can lower my tax burden and therefore increase my yield, right? Because I listen to you. I care about yield.
Yep.
But the new strategy is to do a fee simple lot partition or a condo. And we're actually
Yeah.
doing right now, we're sharing the whole thing on our YouTube channel. The first 3 of like 15 videos is out, but we buy a house, we remodel the house. And then instead of building an ADU in the backyard, or what Thatch would call in Washington, a DADU, which is a detached ADU in the backyard, we can actually split that off and sell it. So here's a really quick example. You buy a $500,000 house and you build a $100,000 ADU. You're all in for 600 and it may appraise for 650. So you force very little appreciation for your work. You buy that same $500,000 house, You do a legal lot split, you create a new tax lot of record, and you build that same $100,000 ADU. You didn't lose much contributory value from making the land smaller because most of the value is in the improvement in the house. So now you have a property that's worth 500, and that $100,000 ADU that used to add about $125,000 to $150,000 of contributory value will sell alone for 400.
Exactly.
So we literally just forced $250,000 of appreciation in 90 days. You know, you do one, you sell it, you do two, and you keep them. You do one and you sell it, you do two and you keep them. California has an amazing, couple of amazing strategies with SB9 where you can do the same thing. There's also this condo law that just came out that people are trying to work into their strategy now. But basically what this means to everybody in layman's terms is that there's no more single family zoning. If you buy a house, you better hope that it comes with land. I will not buy a single property for the rest of my life that doesn't have room to build another unit or to split off because there's so much value to be added.
Folks, this is why he's a multimillionaire. This is why, again, he's going to give it all away. It's going to live another 5 decades plus. It's going to be fun to watch. He is documenting all of this for free on his YouTube channel. What is it?
That ADU guy everywhere.
Yeah, one thing you've done well, just like me, is everything is that ADU guy. Check him out. Give him a follow. Say hi from One Rental at a Time. He is amazing. Derek, keep being you, man. You're awesome.
Thanks for having me, Zuber.
You got it.